going on, guys? It's your boy Cecil here, bringing a video here today, bringing you guys a Photoshop / After Effects tutorial how to create your own really cool animated stream graphics. Now, we're going to be using a really cool free plugin from Video Copilot, and it's called Saber, I believe, and you guys can just, I'll leave a link in the description. I'll leave a link in the description down below for you guys to go ahead and download it. It's just a really cool plugin, and it just kind of like, alright, I'm going to show you guys. You've probably already seen the beginning of the video, of course, right? However, you can see this is my current starting screen that I use on my stream. There's nothing wrong with it. It's pretty. It has nice colors and whatnot. It's a little outdated personally for my being, but I just didn't, I'm working on revamping very soon with more or less this kind of production quality that I'm going with for today's video that I'm going to show you guys. So if you're a streamer or if you're a graphic designer, you're just trying to get your design assets up, or if you're a streamer, you're trying to get your production quality up, this is definitely a really cool way to do it because the plugin is free and you can always just, access a free trial for After Effects, and plugins do work on free trials, so there's that. So yeah, this is the starting screen, like stagnant or static screen. However, this is the new sort of like look. It's very easy to do this plugin. It's just like a night and day difference personally when it comes to production. I mean, this right here would look super cool. One thing as well is that you have to have it on loop, otherwise it's gonna be a little bit awkward if you don't have it on loop. This is what happens. I believe the original clip is around 8 seconds long. So if I don't have it on loop, it's just going to go black screen right after it finishes. So make sure you guys do have it on loop. That way it will keep just looping for you guys, and you just don't have to really worry about it until you, of course, switch your scene back to whatever you want to go ahead and do. So this is a very cool thing to do. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. 2 likes on the video equals a secret down below, so do not forget. If you guys just, sometimes you guys are great at it. Sometimes you just don't even leave a like, but I get it. I love you guys so very much anyway. So let's go and get this thing going. We're going to start off with the backlit sort of background to the actual text that's going to be holding this. So it's a very nice, simple, clean background, but I'm going to hop in Photoshop. We're already in Photoshop, but I'm going to hop in to the next clip so I can, make sure I get this thing going right. And yeah, see you guys in a second. Alright guys, so we're of course already in Photoshop, so let's go ahead and show you guys how I did this. So I went with a more very simple, sort of like very nice, clean approach to it. Nothing crazy going on. It doesn't mean that you can't do anything crazy going on in your background, but for me, I just wanted to kind of focus the text or just focus the effect itself to be what's kind of like being like seen a lot. So let's go ahead and just show you guys how I did this. So first things first is I did use a gradient. I use a very cool gradient. We're going to go ahead and just go to gradient map here. And I believe the gradient I use will be right here. And actually, let's just use an actual, let's use a gradient map and not that. Let me see something. Hold on. Gradient map. And the reason why I'm using this is so I can change the actual angle a little bit cooler and a little bit better. So let's go ahead and now click on our little gradient here. So, okay, let me show you guys. So the first, I guess, shadow to highlight ratio would be this really nice, cool, like very dark blue almost. So it's definitely blue. It's basically blue, but of course it has that black, very darkness to it. So this hex code is 08080B. That's the first one. And then for the highlight section, we're probably gonna be flipping it in a second anyway, but regardless, each on the side. This hex code would be 081D24. It's just more or less like a nice sort of corresponding. It's almost getting to that greenish blue tone, but it just kind of course, it's still blue, but it's nice, more dulled out blue. And the reason why I didn't go with like a green, like a blue-green, just because I wanted to make sure that I wanted to just be nice and even and not too like crazy about it, because I already have, if I just show you guys the finished product really quick, I already had more or less green highlights being casted around the entire thing and not actually using blue and green, because I didn't want to make it too like mismatch and just sort of, very obviously patchy of colors. So I want to make sure I kind of get that out of there. So we're gonna go ahead and just change this angle. I like the dark side over on the right hand side, so I'm gonna change my angle, just doing like this, just like so. And then once I've done that, that's pretty much gonna be our background to start off this really cool background. So what's gonna happen here is we're gonna be doing this really cool thing called, I like to call it the Aurora effect. Essentially it's just me doing this really cool sort of lighting, almost streak kind of effect. It's just really very simple to do actually. So the one thing I did was I made a new layer, of course, because we're gonna be putting on a new layer. And we're going to be using a rectangle, just like so. The rectangle marquee tool you can just use by just simply going over here, clicking the rectangle, click and drag, and just basically fill your entire canvas. By the way, let me just say this now before anyone just starts, yo, what's the canvas size? It's 1920 by 1080p. So if you guys just go to 1920, 1080, and then basically the resolution I have on 300, I believe anything above 150 or 175 is perfectly fine anyway. However, I just like to have it on 300 because why the heck not? And then you create it, and that's going to be basically your project file as well when you go into Illustrator. So keep that in mind. It's just basically a nice 1080p resolution screen. So on this rectangle here, we're going to be basically pressing right click, transform selection. That way I can kind of give it a nice rotation here. I'm holding shift. That way you can see on my right hand side or right above my mouse, you see how it says 15, 30, and then 45. Basically, if you hold shift, it keeps it in a nice simple 15 intervals while you're actually rotating it, so you don't have to actually guess or anything like that. That way you have a nice, very cool, just diagonal line, a nice 45-degree angle. That's what we want. So I'm gonna take my brush here. Let's go ahead and take this brush. Let's go ahead and make the hardness 0. And then we're gonna give it a nice brush size. We're just gonna take a very simple, I'll just make it white for now because we can change the color afterwards. So I'm gonna make it change my diameter amount to about 150. And I'm just gonna try to find out where, like, I don't want to click here and have this big streak. Do not click anywhere near sort of the actual your circle, your actual mouse circle for the actual brush should be nowhere. I would say not even maybe like, I would say like maybe an inch, or no, that's probably like a centimeter, like half a centimeter almost, like actually, you know, outside of the box. That way you kind of have more like this. You don't have like this kind of harsh glow, because you definitely don't want that. It looks kind of very tacky and awkward. And you also don't want to see, like, you can actually see like a I guess a circle streak, right? You just want it to be a nice little cool little like light aurora. I like, that's how I like to call it, right? So I'm gonna say this again, maybe like just right outside of the box here, just right outside, and just make sure I hold shift and click once again just outside. So there's gonna be a nice, very cool streak. So if I press Control D to then deselect, you guys can see that it just gives me a nice, very cool like aurora streak. So if I want to show you guys this again, basically be repeating this over and over and over again, and then taking your eraser and kind of erasing it. So now let's go ahead and make sure we actually get the same green, or at least close to the same green for the sake of the video. It's somewhere around here, I would say. I kind of like put this up a little bit more, and then I'm going to just give you guys this hex code. I don't know, the color scheme on your sort of, you know, even your background of the gradient really is all up to you. But I went with a really nice, cool green and blue complementary color, like, color scheme. So this is like a nice, cool, like a neon greenish color. So this is the hex code 3EF7B4. So you guys put that in your color picker. You guys will get the same exact color that I'm using currently. And so let's go ahead and do this. Let's just go ahead and hold Alt and Shift. And then we're just gonna go ahead, and also, did I actually end up doing a bigger? No, I kept it right there. Okay, I see. Let's just say right here. I kind of wish I made it a little bit longer, but for the sake of the video, it's fine. I'll just use the actual background that I actually had before. And then right there, what I mean by a little bit longer is I wish I made the streak a little longer, so I didn't have to actually, like, if I were to try to move it down, you see I have this cut here. That's something that's like almost like an imperfection. It's not something you want to have. So, I mean, actually, I can just go back really quickly. Why the hell not? Let's just go ahead and try to get that same green again. At least somewhere around where it was before. And I'll go ahead and I'll go back into it and just make sure I make it a little bit more longer. Right? There's no harm in actually doing it over. Why the heck not? It's not too far back. So, there we go. A little bit longer. And now I can actually do this without actually feeling like I'm hurting myself when it comes to making sure I have it kind of filling the screen. So, Alt and Shift, just kind of moving it around. And right about there, I'll just go ahead and move this one over. That's fine. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and just group it together by holding Control G, making sure all the layers are selected on the right-hand side. Moving it down, Alt-Shift, moving it down. And I'm going to flip it horizontal and vertical. And you have something like this. Right? And then essentially this part here would just be coming in. I would probably make it a little more uniform, but this is pretty much fine. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to control click on both of these groups here together, group those two groups together. I'm going to make a nice duplicate group of this actual group that I have here, just so that if I ever need to go back and like fix things, or I might have misplaced something and I want to go back and fix it without actually like having to do it all over again. Make sure you guys make backups. So that's what I'm going to do right here. That's my backup. And I'm going to merge this layer together just like so. That way now I can take my nice soft brush eraser and give myself some, just, I guess I would call it, like almost like a little depth play around. Like, we're just gonna take this and bring it all the way down here. Let's take this and put it like halfway. Let's take this one and put it like up here. And it's just really just trying to make it more, I guess, randomized, right? Because we just had it all the same sort of lengths. You already saw me before previously putting a little more, I guess, like space in between, height-wise, right? So I think that's pretty fine. That looks pretty good. So lastly, I believe what we're gonna doing here is just gonna take a duplicate of this actual sort of entire streaks here. We're just gonna simply go ahead and move them right about here. I'll say like right about here. Essentially what I'm gonna be doing, let me show you guys what the actual, let's do this. That way you can actually see the exact, where the actual rectangle's moving to. Okay, I deleted the wrong one. No, it's this right here. There we go. So I'm just going to be moving this down towards the right, just like so. Right? You can see how that works. I'm just going to be taking the Control U option, which is going to bring up the hue and saturation. So you press Control U while you're selected on a layer. It brings up the hue and saturation that's only targeted towards that layer. I'm going to simply take my lightness, drop this all the way down to -100. It's going to make it black for us, right? Press OK. And then on this layer, use your brush again, your eraser. And then just erase it. So you see how these you have these weird, awkward, odd, like cutoffs, which is basically happening because you had the canvas before and you didn't see that previously. You want to make sure you get rid of that because it's kind of like a quality thing. You definitely don't want to have that, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, get rid of that just like this, and then let's go up here, bring some of these up here, and I'll say like that's pretty good. We're missing a little bit over here, so what I might be doing is just maybe make another duplicate. And then just erase where I don't want other stuff, right? And I'll have one like maybe in the middle, so let's put one over there as well, and just erase the other stuff, right? You can see how that works. You just want to basically fill that space to get this really cool end look that kind of looks like there's light just like leaking out of this really cool, simple background. So for me, this is where I would stop at for you guys. And if you guys want to, if you want to find a really cool color scheme, I already have this color scheme from previously, but maybe let's just see what happens when we go ahead and use the color balance option. And you just want to move things around. You might find a color scheme that you might want to use when it comes to After Effects and you want to do your actual lighting and stuff. So I don't know, it doesn't look crazy good like this, but it might give you an idea. Who the heck knows if you use a different kind of hue saturation, or excuse me, hue or vibrance when it comes to your colors. But regardless, it didn't work too well for me, but maybe it'll work for you, so I would try that out most definitely. And yeah, that's pretty much it. What I would do is I would go to File, Export, Save for Web option. You want to change this to PNG 24, and then you just want to save it as so. That's probably the best way to actually export anything, really, anything at all when it comes to picture quality. So make sure you guys use PNG 24, not JPEG. I promise you it's better if you use PNG 24. And you just save it, and then once we're going to save it, we're going to drop it into After Effects, and then I'll meet you guys over there. So let's just go ahead and do this now. I need water. That's the thing. Alright, homies, so we're actually inside After Effects, all good to go. So this is actually the one that I use, or the comp that I use personally, to create what you guys saw in the beginning of the video here today. So you can see all these other solids right here are actually just the actual Saber effect used so that I can have these really cool little streaks that sort of have more motion going on around it. So it's not just so boring and obvious that motion's only going on in the middle. It just feels very awkward if I did so. And then, of course, you can start to see the soon part here looks really, really cool. It's almost like an effect that's you're kind of like filling up water in a cup kind of thing. It's basically the end offset, and kind of like how to say that is the way to put it is probably like, just imagine the word is kind of like filling itself in almost at the offset. I'm saying the plugin itself is doing all the work when it comes to this stuff here. Very simple way to animate this. It's not hard whatsoever. You guys will learn how to do it in today's video, hopefully, and I would very much so advise you guys, because I'm not be using a lot of the settings that the person, Video Copilot, who created this actually really cool plugin, excuse me, he did definitely a way more in-depth view of all the settings. I'm more or less going to be using maybe like 4 or 5, and then giving you guys some tips on how to make it look somewhere close to what I have going on here, because that's what I know how to do. That's what I learned in today's video, so make sure you guys know. So I'm not a pro in After Effects, but I can definitely tell you guys that I like to just kind of show you guys where I'm at in the process of just learning different programs, learning how to just give my design assets a better advantage, or a better learning experience. Why the heck not? Anyway, let's just go ahead and make a new composition. We're going to be going with 1920 by 1080. We use 60 frames per second for this. You can use 30, I believe. I don't know if I really would see too much of a difference. Maybe if you have that cinematic versus just smooth feel, whatever works for you. I'm just gonna be using 60 for today's video because I did that before. Let me also rename this. I don't know why I went with composition settings. Let's just name it tutorial. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna drag in our untitled PNG, which is actually basically our how do you call it? The English is a hard language. The Photoshop image that we use. We're just going to lock the layer because we're not really doing anything with this layer whatsoever. And we're just going to go ahead and file. Excuse me, not file new, but new text. That's the first thing I'm going to be doing in today's video. So let's go ahead and just put in the word they're going to be using, which is going to be starting for me. This could be right back for you. This could be anything for you, honestly. So just whatever word you want to have, or whatever panel screen or whatever screen that you want to have the word say. Maybe you want to have it your name. Who the heck knows? Maybe it's going to be your logo. Who the heck knows? It is all doable though. So just be that. Just know that as a thing. I'm going to make this a little more bigger. Put that right in the middle, just like so. Turn off my grid here. Let's say this is a pretty good start. So I did use Gotham Narrow. I just changed my settings or changed my width, my size of my text by holding shift, clicking on a corner, making it bigger, turning on the grid, figuring out where the middle is, because if I use snap to, where is it? Transform. If I use snap to center in view, it would usually do it in the view. For some reason, it's the text here is on the bottom left, and I don't know how to move this right here. So if anyone wants to help me, I don't know how to move that. But you can also do that if you had like a logo, which would probably be a lot more easier to just snap it right in the middle by just doing the right click, transform, center in view, which is control plus home for your actual shortcut. So once you have this, the Saber effect could be, I believe, put onto a text where you actually change it yourself, but that's not the way I learned it. I personally learned it as my text. Once I made sure I spelled it right, all that good stuff, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to this actual, the files over here on the right-hand side, or the left-hand side, excuse me, the project text here, and make sure I just changed my text into a mask. So create mask from text, just like so. It makes it white. All good to go. Basically what's going to happen here is these are going to be more or less individual sort of it's going to be more of like a mask basically, right? There's going to like be like almost an AI file almost, right? So I'm going to go ahead and go to effects, which is right here. Type in the word Saber. I already did so. So just really quickly just drag the effect right over here, just like so. You can see that the word starting kind of went away, right? I also wanted to make sure, the reason why I stuttered right there is I was making sure I spelled it a little right. I've been doing too many spelling mistakes. So anyway, right, you want to have the Saber effect here. It's going to start off always as basically like this really cool, simple, light, what is it called? Like a light streak, just like so. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into, well, I believe it's customize core type, change it from Saber to layer mask, just like so. So that way you can see that the actual layer mask, the actual effect itself, gets masked onto the little AI sort of masking of the word starting that we had, right? Very, very simple way to go for it. And you can see right away, it's going to be very, very sort of, all those things are going to be a little bit too much for the actual text. So first things first, I'll mess around with the core size. Or actually, first things first, I'll probably mess around with the preset. We're probably going to use electric this time. This is one I use personally in the actual starting soon presentation view. You can use really anything you guys want. Like if I flip through some of these, they're like ridiculously cool. You can see different ones have different noise types. This one's a burning one, very, very cool. There's just so many, and I advise you guys to really go through these. I didn't even go through these myself, so I'm gonna, while I'm saying go through these, I'm gonna go through these a little bit so you can see what's going on here. But there are, what the heck is that? Jesus. You can see there's some really, really, really cool ones. I still would advise you guys to make sure you guys check out the actual tutorial that I'm going to be having linked in the description down below for you guys. So anyway, we're going to be using electric for this one. And I'm going to change my core size immediately, which basically the core size is, I can give you guys some insight on it, right? Oops. Don't want to move that. Where did you go? Where did it go? Okay. The core size will basically be the actual, I guess, source light to this, or the thickness of your stroke, if you think about it like that. So the core size, if I just put this up to like 3 or so, you can see what's going to happen here is it gets way too much. If I lower this down for a second, you can see the core size just gets a little bit too thick. Let's just put this at 55 again, and here's the core size for me personally on the electric preset. 0.5 looks super, super nice to me. And let's just change the spread a little bit to like, actually 0.1 was perfectly fine. Let's change the intensity on the glow though to a nice high 80 number. That way you can have that really, really cool electric feel to it, and it looks pretty good. So personally, me, I'm gonna be having multiple colors. I'm gonna be having multiple colors. The way I'm gonna actually do that is I'm gonna be copying and pasting the actual same text that we're working with here. So I'm not gonna quite like animate this right now. So let's go ahead and let's just do a little bit of I guess a little bit of animation. So very simply, the one I'm going to be using a lot, or in this case, the one we're going to be using in today's video is end offset, which is right here, which is basically doing that thing I was talking about before, like the filling up the cup thing with the soon part coming in right here. Let me just show you guys, right? The soon is basically me changing the end offset. You see how that works? So if I go back to my actual tutorial composition, and if I just change the offset, you'll see what happens here. It almost fills it up. You guys see how that works? It's very, very cool, and that's how I actually did the soon part. So if I animate this from 0 to 100, that's basically how it happens. So not end size. What? I was wondering why it didn't happen. End offset if I put that to 0, right, if I just show you guys really quick, let's just put this, keyframe this, 0. Let's go to like 3 seconds, change this to 100. And through that time frame, you'll see that it fills in. So that's how I did the soon part. That's very, very simple. You see how very, very simple that is? Very simple keyframes. Let's just go ahead and just turn that off or delete that. So press U to bring up the keyframes on the actual layer. It's very simple to do. And where did you go again? Why does it always do that? Okay. So yeah, that's that. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, let's just change this a little bit. I'm going to turn the offset on again. Let's just put this on to maybe about like 80. So we have like about that, or maybe a little more, like 75. About 75, I think is pretty good, because I still want to see the word starting. I'm going to use this actual first one to actually be able to see all of the actual text. So I would say maybe even like 77, just so that a little more of the T, there we go, a little more of the T can be in there. So I would say that's pretty dang good. So there's also a really cool thing called, where is it at? Glow settings. Just no, flicker. It's flicker. So if you guys know, if you guys can't tell, just so there's these little cool little flickers. If you guys were to put this up to like 15 or so, flicker intensity, it's kind of like almost like these little almost think about it of brush hits going in and out. So think about it like that. I definitely put some of those in here, so I'm gonna put this about maybe like 20% intensity, and let's just say flicker speed at like 25. That way when you're going through, you can't quite see it too much unless I render preview it or whatnot. But I don't know what is After Effects in the sense of like how the render and stuff goes. I'm actually not entirely sure, but oops, you can see it a little bit, not too much though. It's not too much, it's not too high anyway. Regardless, that's what I would basically mess around and flirt around with. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy and paste this one right here again really quickly though, so I can actually get those two colors in here a little bit so I can see what I want to do. So basically what's going to be happening, you can't really tell. Actually, before I do that, let me be sure to actually show you guys how to actually turn on basically an overlay, because you want to make sure you guys see your background, right? If you guys don't have your mode enabled, this little on the bottom left, these little tabs here, expand or collapse, you definitely want to have the second one on, basically, right? So you guys just see the mode. Turn this on, simply just put this on add, and you guys will see that it now is on the background here. You can see it now in your background. Looks super, super nice, super clean. The blue definitely works, it's okay. And secondly, I'm going to turn this one on again now so I can actually show you guys the different color. The green, and we're going to go ahead and just turn on this on add as well so I can see it over this one. But we're going to take this offset here, and we're going to change this to, let's turn off this for a second. Let's just change it to like 55. And let's also change it from electric to energize. Oh, that looks pretty freaking sexy. Okay, let's put this to green again. Right about here, is that pretty good? Okay, green. So let's go ahead and just lower the core size first. Let's go to the core size about like to like 1. I would say 1 would probably be really good. Let's turn off or turn this. And let's go with the start offset or the end offset. Where's the end size? There we go. Kind of want to make sure I don't want to have it overlaying too much like how you see it right now. Let's just turn that back to 100. Let's go back into this one actually and just turn this to like 50. There we go. And let's go back into the green one and turn the end offset to about like 95. There we go. That's about right. I just want to be able to see multiple colors and not have them overlaid over each other the entire time, because that's a little bit of an awkward situation there. As you can see, this looks a lot better. You can see definitely two separate colors. So for my blue one, or for my green one, excuse me, I have it on, where is it at, excuse me, and offset at 95. So that's the one thing I did change, so I can change basically the separation. I want to make sure I have those two separate colors, so I did change my end offset to 95. Core size to 1 on the green, whichever color you choose to be, but on 1's going to be that those settings. And for the blue, I have my end offset at 50, and then my core size at 0.50. And then of course this is the blue one on electric preset. This one is on the energized preset. So that looks pretty dang good. So what's happening here is the effect itself is really honestly already done. I'm not even gonna lie to you about that. It's basically going to be animating itself. I kind of like a little bit render preview here, but I know my render preview is so bad. But you can see it's already animating itself. All the electric sort of current period, what is there a word? Let's not break my brain. You guys can see it's already animating itself. So essentially this is almost already done. So in a way, if you guys want to say, let's just go ahead and like really quickly now kind of look at it more. You see how that's kind of working out there? So if you guys want to, one thing I'd probably like mess around with is definitely the spread. Because it looks a little bit too much. Like this right here, the bias or whatever how you say it, it's like 0.3. Probably look a little bit better. So there's not so much going on there. And the noise, by the way, the noise in the background, these little like almost like the smoke in the background, you actually could change that as well. I would probably do so. And that would be located. Distortion? No. Let's go. Where is it? I'm getting lost. I am lost in the settings. Wasn't it there? Where is it? I know I can find this. Give me 2 more seconds. I'll find it. Can't find it. Isn't it in here? It's definitely in here. Glow. There we go. Noise. Okay, so I had to take a little longer, but you can see if I take my aspect ratio and throw this to like, I don't know, let's just say like 0.3 almost, you'll see that it gets more like very motion blurry. And if I just change the blue one as well, you can see it a little bit better. Probably what's going on here. Now, can I find it faster? It's on glow settings, distortion, glow distortion, and then aspect. Let's just change this to about 0.3 again. You'll see what happens here. So you see how that looks, right? It almost gives it more of like a motion kind of feel. I would say whatever. I would say that's okay though, putting it on 1. I just think that's something you probably want to work around with too to make it more kind of like you. But it's pretty dang good. You can change a random seed. I'd probably change this as well, just so you don't have the same exact thing going on for your entire thing. So now we have a different sort of seed when it comes to the motion, what's going on here. So if you use maybe energize twice, which is this more thinner one, so that way you don't have the same exact sort of glow or wind speed. You can probably change your wind speed a little bit. There's a lot that goes on here, but I can't entirely show you it as perfect as the way that Video Copilot did, because this is whatever his computer is, it renders like a god. I have a new computer, but I don't have the exact things for more or less on the editing side. So that would be not, unfortunately, it's not what I have currently. But hey, whatever here. This is pretty much how I did the starting word here. But for me, I did more have like I had more like a very skinny approach to it, or skinny strokes to it. But just to show you guys the velocity or the presence that this shows, this looks pretty cool. So for the actual other part, when we're going to do these little almost like little streaks, is how we did this. Just pressing new, solid. That was like the most awkward transition ever, but basically we're going to be making these things right here, right on the outsides, so we can have those moving as well. So it's not just the inside moving, because the soon part here, the way I did that was just simply doing exactly what I did for the starting, but essentially taking one of these and making them black. So you can see that. There we go. It looks more gray. That looks pretty cool as well, but that's how I did the soon part. Very simple. I promise you'll be able to figure it out very easily if you at least follow this tutorial somewhat. Let's go into FX. Drag the saber onto our nice solid, and we're gonna immediately go ahead and just turn this on add, and we're gonna also immediately turn this on energize or electric. Let's go to electric. Right, we're gonna take this. You see these little key points or little what would be like the legitimate word to use inside After Effects, like keyframes or motion frames or target points, something like that. Let's just change our core size here to like 0.3. That's fine. Let's just turn this up then. Let's just say right about there. It's pretty okay. What about even 0.2? Okay, let's do 0.4. There we go, that's fine. So essentially, this is like how it's going to be happening. We're going to be duplicating this a couple times. So one thing for sure is, that was a voice crack, is change your distortion, glow, maybe even your core distortion. Make sure you actually have a random seed on these. That way you don't have the same exact, if you use at least the same exact thing, which I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using electric for all the surrounding things here. Make sure you change the seed around a little bit. So when you, of course, Control C, Control V, move it around. So to move this one around, once you Control C and Control V, click back on the saber, click back on these motion points, and then just move them to where you want to move them to. So I'm going to move this one right down here. I'm going to go into the seed, change it around here as well. If you want, you can animate the offset so that it kind of like does what I did before for the soon part under starting. So if I were to go to, let's go ahead and just lower all these because we don't need all these here. Customize core. start offset or end offset, you can have one be like coming in and just doing something like this, like shooting out, almost like electricity. So if you have one at 0, it won't be there. So if I were to quickly try to show you guys how to animate it, if we just have it on 0 frames, so at the start, we're going to have this keyframed at 0 offset, and at, let's just say 2.3 seconds or whatever, or 2.5 seconds, we're going to have the offset be at 100. So what's going to happen here is, let's go ahead, I keep doing that. Let's go ahead, is there a way to turn off, there was a way to turn that off. How did I do that? Where is like the, so I don't actually have to see this. Wasn't there a way to do that? I forgot how to do it. Okay, whatever. Anyway, essentially you can see what happens here is it's going to start coming in nice and slow, or however fast you want it to come in or whatnot. There we go. You start to see how it's coming in. So just, it's a very cool little, almost like an electric animation. I would say I'd probably really, if I was going to do this over again in my composition number 1, I'd probably change those around so that I can actually have it a little more like shooting and coming in and coming out. I think that would look a lot better, honestly. So I just gave you guys another idea. So essentially, that's pretty much it. Honestly, you can change the colors as well by just clicking over here, clicking this little mark right here, and make sure I click on the green. Just make it a little more vibrant as always. So you have a blue one, you have a green one, and you just sort of split them apart. I would definitely not put it on top of the actual little aurora stuff. Put it more or less where the shadows are. So that way it just looks a lot better, and you have that nice little kind of like cohesive room, and just making it look just really, really nice, cool composition. And basically, that's it for today's tutorial here today. I know I didn't do too much. I promise I didn't explore the Saber effect or the Saber plugin very much, but for what I explored, I got a really, really cool, I'm personally satisfied with it, and a really cool little effect. Like I said, I'm probably going to go ahead and re-render it so I actually have it kind of shooting like I said before. One thing to be certain of though, if you have something changing with the offset, let's go back in here for a second. If you have changing with the offset, so let's just say for whatever reason, for the blue, or no, let's just say the green, which is this one right here, the energized one. Let's just say for whatever reason, if you have your offset start at like 50, right, for the green, at 3.5 seconds, you have it at 100, right? So it's gonna like basically fill in again. So if you have this going on, right, if you have that sort of like look where it's gonna be, you know, kind of coming in, make sure, excuse me, if you have like an 8-second composition like I do, make sure press U on your keyboard when you click on that. So if you ever do anything with the offset or anything with keyframe, if you press U on a layer, it'll bring up those keyframes. So essentially, what you want to make sure you do is, so essentially you have this keyframe here, which is the offset being at 0, this keyframe here being an offset of being at 100, being sure that you don't actually jump when it comes to looping it inside the, what do you call it? Side Streamlabs, you don't want it to jump basically, right? So if I have this here, if I have this at 0, right, or I have it on 50, make sure you Control C, right, that keyframe, go to, you know, basically the end of the keyframe or the end of your composition, which is 8 seconds or whatever, Control V, so you can actually copy and paste that, you know, that intensity, or not intensity, the offset. So what's gonna happen here is it's gonna basically almost loop itself. So if you have this at 50, it's gonna go to 50 to 100, it fills in, it's going to go back to 50, but essentially besides jumping from 100 to 50, it's going to basically now essentially go backwards, and it won't look awkward. You guys, you know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you're going to see in your Streamlabs, when you put it on loop, it's going to jump. You don't want it to jump, because it's just going to look too obvious. It's going to look a little bit awkward. You might even have to change your settings when it comes to the streaks as well. So if I, you know, make it go out, I want to make sure it goes in as well, so that when it loops from when it was coming out. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. There's no real other way for me to explain it besides this is currently at 50, the offset, which means it's going to be kind of filling in, outlining the actual thing. So if I put this to 50, it's going to outline it to 100, as so. Right? Essentially, if you had this being your end keyframe, it would immediately jump back to here and then go through it again. So it'd be like, hey, and jump. You know what I mean? So to make sure it doesn't jump, make sure you actually make one of the end keyframes be where you originally started. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video here today. I didn't try to make it as long as possible. I hope you guys just like kind of figure out the setting and just really have fun with it. Please be sure to check out the actual download link, or excuse me, the actual tutorial I'm going to be posting, because in that tutorial is a download link. Please be sure to watch that to kind of familiarize yourself a little bit more. However, for me, I believe the settings that I personally changed around with and worked with is pretty much good enough for personally me, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully it makes your stream look a little bit cooler, and or if you're not a person who's doing it for themselves, or for a designer who's just looking to up their, like I said, design assets to make their stream packages be a lot cooler, a lot more production value, just give them another reason to get the pricing that you personally want. Hopefully this is the tutorial for you. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Don't forget to keep smiling, stay positive, and stay freaking productive, guys. Don't forget to like, comment down any tutorials on this if you do. Don't forget to check out my Selfie, selfie.com/SysHQ. It's a all pre-mades and designs, as low as $5. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's it. I already said keep smiling, stay positive, so I'm gonna leave. What time is it? 10:30. Holy, or 12:30. 12:30. That's 12:30. Holy crap! I need to go to bed and render this. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys.